Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, Detroit.
I have never received my check on time. Now, they say they put them out, but now like yesterday, it's supposed to have been here yesterday, and it didn't arrive, and I'm waiting today for it. Now, 2 weeks ago, it was supposed to have been on a Friday, so it didn't arrive. So I waited Saturday until the mailman went by, still no check. So I called down there for emergency order, like they told me to. There is no such thing as emergency order on a weekend. So in other words, my children went without food from Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, until Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Mrs. Jane?
Sheesh, child. I don't understand. Y'all already know. Shout out to y'all if you're here. This is more of the welfare revolt from 1967. So it's all in. Ain't one person or another. The only in commonality up in here are women with kids. And this is 1967.
Wilson is a Detroit welfare mother.
That's right.
The premise of the ADC program is simple. That children without visible means of support must be aided by the state.
Children without visible means of support. They say these words, then they act like, meaning not the reporter, but I guess people that run these programs. You're basically saying that these people are not responsible to take care of the kids that they have. And yet you know that you can't say anything to anyone about a mama ain't doing nothing right. But you know there's a bunch of mamas out here who act like they're doing everything right, even though they waiting on government assistance, they waiting on food stamps, they waiting on TANF or whatever the heck it is that they waiting on. He just said it. You can't take care of your kids. And then you have more. That's the problem. So this is not even new. This is not a new problem. I ain't talking about this lady right here. I'm just talking about in general right now, 2023. He just said it. You can't take care of your kids without government help. But we think that the government is there just to give us our everyday needs and all. I'm not saying that we don't need government. I'm not ever going to say that. We absolutely do. But there's some things that adults should be responsible for, specifically when they do have their own daggone children. You need to be able to take care of them. And if you can't take care of one, don't have two, don't have three, don't have four. And then get upset when someone doesn't empathize with you. No one's going to, let me rephrase. Not many people are going to empathize with that. Your priorities are all messed up. I mean, seriously, come on now. Let's call it spade. You're having sex. You're having unprotected sex. Understood. There could be mistakes. Then why take daggone chance? Everybody got an F around here, right? Then you end up with a kid. Then you want the government to help you. She said these kids ain't had nothing to eat from Friday to Monday too. That's a long time for kids not to be eating, and yet they get to stay there. No matter what any woman does, it appears, from 1967 to 2023, they just okay with it, and no one says anything, and no one does anything about it, and no one changes anything, and no one takes them out of the home. No one says, you're not really taking care of your kids. We need you to go through a program. We need you to take a parenting class. We need you to get into a certificate class so that you can get a job, blah, 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 something. But people think that this is the way to go. So when you do, then we okay with it. It don't make good God sense to me, but if y'all okay with it, we okay with it.
But to be eligible, a mother and her children must be without a man in the house.
Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's like Revelation, except it's not, because we already know, right? And all these women carrying on talking about how all these men are all bad, all downtrodden, ain't got nothing, ain't doing nothing, no good here, no good there. Don't bring nothing to the table. $80 a week is not enough. $800 a week is not enough. $8,000 a week is not enough. So the people that are, in essence, the needy, that need help, that's not making it, that's not doing right, that's not taking care of the kids properly, don't have the means, are the ones that are telling other people that they don't have the means, they need to do better, you're a bum, you're this, you're that. You can't make it up. You can't make it up.
Well, my husband left me in September. And then I went down to the emergency shelter, welfare shelter. And then I had to go through the welfare, fill out all these papers, drag all 5 kids.
5 kids. Woo, child. Now listen, she said that he left. I'm trying to understand what's going on with all these men, why they leaving. I mean, seriously, come on now. Well, you took the chance and you took the opportunity to make 5 kids here. I think 5 kids in the last story. And I don't know, 1 in the other story. I don't know, child. It's all getting mumble jumbled together, right? And these men just left. They said, F it, we done. There ain't nothing good going on here. I've had enough. We're out of here. Or were they pushed to leave so that they could get the welfare? Maybe the man wasn't working. Maybe $80 a week wasn't enough. Maybe he got laid off. I don't know. It's a lot of, allegedly, a lot of men just up and leaving, getting married, making kids, making a whole family say, I've had enough. Bye.
On the bus, go down there, sit there and wait for 3-4 hours until they come around to you. I felt like the lowest thing on earth when I went to the welfare. I felt like they were all better than me, that they could walk all over me, which I got down on my hands and knees to them and begged them for coats and boots for these children at wintertime. I actually got down on my hands and knees, and you can ask anybody down at that office. I actually got down on my hands and knees and begged them. And you know what? And when I went down there, sure, they gave me the coats and boots. Sure, after you get down on your hands and knees and you beg, that's the only way you're going to get anything from the welfare. And to this day, I have never gotten anything from the welfare for myself.
Breakfast in the home of Carol King, a Cleveland welfare mother with 9 children.
Ooh, child. Y'all, I hear these numbers. Listen, I know it was a different time back then, child. My great-grandmother had about 9, 10, 11 child. Child, I'm still traumatized by the 2. Now, let me tell you something. Lord, praise the Lord. I could never. I know we're supposed to come here and multiply, but I could never. Sorry. Wow.
On the days before the welfare check arrives, there is half an orange for each child. Mrs. King has become involved in the welfare rights movement because she feels she doesn't get enough money to raise her family. She gets less than 80 cents a day for each of her children.
Child.
The Ohio legislature approves only 3/4 of the amount that the state welfare department felt was a minimum necessity in 1959. The rise of ADC recipients in the last 6 years has been particularly dramatic among Negro families in the northern ghettos.
Come on, Negro families in the northern ghettos, child. She seemed quite calm with these kids. Listen, I'm assuming there was some husband here too with this one with 9 kids. So if these husbands is just getting up and leaving, then that's some BS for real. But of course, we Negroes always got to be high on foolishness, low on things we shouldn't be low on, high on things we shouldn't be high on. Oh my goodness gracious. But let's see what is going on here.
Giving aid only when a husband is absent pushes the man out of the house. His presence is an economic hardship, and a whole class of women and children are growing up in the northern ghettos knowing neither husband nor father, only dependence on welfare. Life on welfare means waiting in line for food stamps, as for everything else.
So was every black man just a bum? Is that what I'm hearing right now? It's just like every black man is a bum. Can that be a song? No. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, you can't, all these people, you can't have the man in the home. We already know that, right? So are they leaving or are they being pushed out? They're not, like, I'm hearing in these stories, they don't make enough. Well, what is enough? James Evans never left. Yeah, I know it's a fictional character, right? James Evans never left. Even when he couldn't work, even when he didn't work, even when there wasn't enough money, he tried, he went, he did what he needed to do, blah, blah, blah. That's the image that I'm used to seeing. good times. What I'm hearing is not good times at all. Nothing like it. Yes, I know it's a made up story and everything, but Lord have mercy. But this is 1967 again, and he referenced in 1959, and welfare has been called so many different daggone things. It's still the same thing. Waiting for the government to give you something that's not enough at the end of the day, but then what the men make is not enough. Well, what is it? Is it more important to go stand in lines, take buses, beg for coats, beg for shoes, instead of having the man in the home and him making $80 a week or whatever he can as he strives to do more and more and more? Every single man in the world can't be bad. I'm sorry. I don't believe it.
After getting her welfare check each month, Mrs. King's first stop is a food stamp center in the heart of Huff, Cleveland's Negro ghetto. She pays $110 for $158 worth of food stamps, which must be spent only on food. The idea is that the state guides the spending of welfare mothers, and the women resent the implicit moral judgment that they don't have the capacity to care properly for their children.
Well, honestly, at the end of the day, you don't if you're depending on the government to give you money and to give you food stamps to buy food. Like, does that not kind of make common sense? It is a little very degrading, though. I'm gonna have to be honest with y'all. It's very degrading. I got to give you 110 to get 158. That ain't even a good deal. So I guess at this time they just didn't calculate how much you qualify for at this point. So then you had to go and take some of your welfare money in order to get some food stamps. So that means that your welfare money was being used as food stamps. So you don't even get the food stamps in addition to. This is a mess. This is a mess. But how did we get so dependent upon it? I'm talking Negroes right now. How do we get so dependent upon this? It's just not worth it. It wasn't worth it in 1967. It wasn't worth it when I used to do it, and it ain't worth it now. But people be clamoring just to get something just because it's free. We could be doing so much better now. This is not 1967. This is not 1959. This is 2023, where there's so much opportunity out here, and yet people still sitting around waiting for the government to help them. This is crazy.
We are bitter because we are faced with trying to raise children without money. People on welfare, if they had money enough to at least exist on, I'm not saying, because I don't have a college diploma, that I should have, $300 a week, but I'm saying that people on welfare have a right to a decent living in a rich country like America. And, like we can always, send charity overseas, and it's, for years, we've been in poverty as a country, and that I'm concerned with, a country that, gets concerned with hunger in India, but's not concerned with hunger in the United States.
I don't disagree with you. Ma'am, I do not disagree with you at all right there, period, point blank. Which, today, 2023, is all the more reason why people should not be dependent on the government. You see that they give money to everybody. Shout out to the asylum seekers. Interesting how they can pony up the money real quick, right? And yet there's so many homeless people, the veterans, the elderly, everyone. People can't eat, all that type stuff. And people waiting around for thinking that the Section 8 is going to come. We only got 15 more years to wait. Like, there's so much that can be done in that time frame in 2023.
They talk about planning for a future. You have to first have something to plan with. You don't plan a meal, unless you got, something to eat. And you don't plan a future unless you have something to plan with. And this is what, society's going to have to face. They're talking about future America. And, our kids are part of that future society. And, and to deprive them from the time that they're, babies, now they say, work with 16-year-olds. That's crazy. A 16-year-old, it's too late.
Growing up without enough money is hard enough. But there are other cold realities about growing up on ADC.
Hate to see these second generations of welfare coming up. And One of the things I think is more crucial to is the youth that's in the ghetto, because most of the youth that's coming up, they're ashamed to tell their buddies, say, well, yeah, we on welfare, we getting ADC or food stamps and things like this here.
Welfare children don't have, I was not able to buy, white shirts for ties and things. If a mother go out like I do, I buy my child these knit sweaters and bandana sweaters and things like that. And he wear them with his pants. But Friday, he got to wear a shirt and a tie. And I just don't have it. They have sent my child home twice, last year for not being dressed in a tie. And I mean, it made me real mad. And I called the principal and told him, I said, look, my child ain't got no shirt and ties. Now, if you want to have one, you buy him one.
And thus declares himself a welfare child.
Lord, you got to be getting free milk in school and everybody knows. This is so sad, y'all. This is so sad.
The teacher would tell everybody, the kids, about him being on welfare, and he didn't know he was on welfare. That lunch card they give him, it's on a special lunch that he get for welfare children, and it's not enough. They don't get no kind of dessert with it or ice cream, and I always have to give him more money to go with it.
They ain't gonna give but a handful of crumbs to a mother. What do you think the young teenager gonna do? Why do you think that's down here on Huff? Because when it gets dark, they have to go out here and survive.